Red Bull are no longer F1's top dogs. Verstappen has now lost 3 races in a row for the first time in 3 years, and McLaren and Mercedes both look a match for them on pace. The team radio outbursts from Verstappen during the Hungarian Grand Prix show just how unhappy the Dutch driver is with how things are going. Despite big upgrades for the Grand Prix, Red Bull were unable to find the pace to match up to McLaren. Their position as Constructors' Championship leaders is under threat, and Red Bull have decided that something has to be done about it. Today, I'll check out the ban that Red Bull have given Max Verstappen, what the team think is going wrong, and why the Belgian Grand Prix is going to be another painful race for them. So, don't go anywhere. Max Verstappen's 5th place finish at the Hungarian Grand Prix has got Red Bull worried. It's been clear for a few months now that the rest of the pack has been catching up to Red Bull's performance, and as F1 heads to the summer break, the team have realized that changes have to happen. Verstappen's expletive-filled rants at his race engineer during the Hungarian Grand Prix crossed a line for the Red Bull team. Max has had a very loose reign at Red Bull, allowed to do pretty much what he wants. Up until this point, he was winning every race, so that had never been a problem. But with Red Bull's rivals improving, the team have decided it's time to curtail that freedom. Verstappen is a well-known sim racer. Unsurprisingly, he's one of the best in the world. He regularly competes with his own team, Team Redline, and won the 24 Hours of Daytona with them in January. The Dutchman regularly streams himself playing as well, but a late-night session before the Hungarian Grand Prix has generated a lot of bad press, and Red Bull have blamed the late night for Verstappen's terrible mood. Verstappen was criticized by fans, commentators, and ex-driver Nico Rosberg when he competed in a sim racing event that lasted until 3 a.m. the night before the Hungarian Grand Prix. It is something he's done a number of times before Grand Prix and still won them, but with Red Bull now under pressure, the late night was blamed for his foul mood. He was clearly irritated after the race as well. In responding to criticism against him, he said, "People who say you're too frustrated, you went too far in your comments, you disrespected the team, can all F off." Dr. Helmut Marko revealed in his column for Speed Week that Red Bull had decided that enough was enough, and the late-night sim racing had to end. Of course, it didn't take long for criticism to arise. No wonder, given that he spends half the night playing sim racing. I have to say this. In Imola, he didn't go to bed until 3 o'clock in the morning after a sim racing session, and then won the Grand Prix. Verstappen has answered criticism about his sim racing habits in the past. Ahead of the second race of the season in Saudi Arabia, Verstappen insisted his sleep pattern is not disrupted by sim racing in the middle of the night. "It is just unwinding as well. I don't have a rig here, I'm driving on my controller," he said. "It's just fun not having to think about Formula 1 and just be with people that you know. Whenever I can, I do it." Nonetheless, Red Bull have banned him from sim racing until the early hours before Formula 1 sessions to try and ensure that he's on top form and to try and stop any more outbursts like the ones in Hungary. Of course, Red Bull's problems aren't just limited to Verstappen's late nights. No, they have much bigger issues that need addressing. The massive bodywork floor and front wing changes that Red Bull brought to the Hungaroring were completely ineffective in closing the gap in performance to McLaren. They were targeted at helping Red Bull combine the most total downforce with good chassis balance. We know from Verstappen's radio messages through the weekend that they failed, and the car suffered from understeer which cost them lap time. Max Verstappen reported that although the new package worked better than the old would have done around the Hungaroring, it wasn't better enough. The team is struggling with a problem which is inherent to the current generation of F1 cars. The ground effect flaws tend to exaggerate the tendency for an F1 car to understeer at low speeds and oversteer at high speeds. At higher speeds, as the downforce pushes the car down harder on its suspension, the front wing becomes more powerful as it is pushed closer to the ground and begins operating in ground effect. Fortunately for Verstappen and Red Bull, this weekend's Belgian Grand Prix is a very fast track, which means their car's habit of understeering at low speeds won't be as much a problem as it was in Hungary. However, the fact that the upgrade failed to achieve what they wanted is still a problem and a worry. Red Bull's in-season upgrades have been excellent for the last 2 years, and this is the first one which really hasn't achieved what the team wanted. While it won't hold them back in Belgium, the Dutch Grand Prix is the first race after the summer break, and their poor performance at low speeds will certainly be an issue there. Verstappen's problems aren't going to be completely gone just because of the fast nature of the Spa circuit. Verstappen is set for a 10-place grid penalty at this weekend's Belgian Grand Prix after exceeding his engine allowance. The reigning world champion has been on the verge of a grid penalty since losing a power unit during June's Canadian Grand Prix weekend. Red Bull have chosen to take the penalty at Spa because it offers a lot of opportunity for overtaking with its long straights. Verstappen, who leads McLaren's Lando Norris by 76 points at the top of the 2024 Drivers' Championship standings, despite not having won any of the last 3 races, will now suffer a penalty in Belgium for the 3rd straight year. He won the race from 14th in 2022 and then triumphed in 2023 after beginning from P6. Drivers are limited on the number of car parts they can use over a season. This stops teams from bringing fresh engines to every race, which is incredibly expensive, creating a performance and reliability gap between the teams which have money to burn and those that don't. During the 2024 season, a driver may use no more than 4 internal combustion engines, MGU-Hs, MGU-Ks, and turbochargers, 2 energy stores and control electronics, and 8 of each of the 4 elements that make up a set of exhaust systems. While Max has won further back on the grid at Belgium before, this season's race will produce fresh challenges for him. With Mercedes and McLaren appearing a match for Red Bull on race pace, Verstappen won't be able to sieve through the field with the same ease he has in previous seasons. Red Bull boss Christian Horner has outlined that McLaren's main strength over Red Bull across recent Formula 1 races is having a car that boasts a broader operating window. McLaren has emerged as Red Bull's most consistent contender since introducing an update package in Miami that inspired Lando Norris to claim his maiden F1 win. But while it rode several near misses since that breakthrough triumph, the Woking-based squad's MCL38 dominated in Budapest to seize a first 1-2 result since 2021. Horner has acknowledged that McLaren being competitive across multiple circuit configurations demonstrates that it retains a more versatile machine than Red Bull. Red Bull's Hungary upgrade was meant to address that difference, but failed. I think their car is in a better window than ours at the moment. It's perhaps easier or a broader window, Horner said, speaking about the advantage McLaren now have. Our window seems to be very peaky, and that's what's making it difficult for the engineers, difficult for the drivers. I think we have to take the balance of the car and make that window broader, as it's so critical on temperature and all the relevant factors. And I think that's something that the team are very aware of and working very hard on. McLaren, capitalizing on a front-row lockout to land a 43-point haul, ensured that they made the most of Red Bull's woes to reduce the gap in the championship to 51 points. McLaren obviously had a lot of pace at the moment. They had a big score today, and we need to start scoring big points from next weekend onwards, Horner said after the Hungarian Grand Prix. With Max Verstappen serving a 10-place grid penalty, and Mercedes and McLaren looking a match for their pace, Verstappen could start as low as 15th for the Belgian Grand Prix. Perez's best qualifying result in the last 7 races has been 8th. There is a scenario where Red Bull don't have a car starting in the top 10 in Belgium, and their Constructors' Championship lead could be all but abolished as Formula 1 heads to the summer break. What do you think of Red Bull banning Max Verstappen from late-night sim racing on Grand Prix weekends? And do you think he can win from the back 5 rows of the grid on Sunday? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.